my notes? Oops. Okay, there they are. Good morning.
I see we're all completely awake and cognizant.
Yep. How is everyone?
Tired.
Oh, yeah. Pretty good overall.
Hmm. I'm reading about the Evil Knievel stunt stadium
Okay.
with the scramble van and stunt and crash car and canyon sky cycle with their gyro-powered energizers.
Okay.
It's at the end of, I think, every single issue we're looking at.
Oh, I honestly have been skipping past the like letters pages and stuff.
Yeah. I
I'm
just
the
like
worst.
seeing. Hmm?
Oh, I said I'm the worst.
Oh, not at all.
Most
I
people
haven't been
skip them.
reading. Yeah, I haven't been reading the letters pages or anything. But yeah, the advertisements are just fantastic.
So, should we get started?
Sure.
Okay. Welcome to Cosmic Tales Episode 17, a Guardians of the Galaxy podcast. I'm Jesse Butler, and I'm here with...
Jeff Davis.
And I'm Kit Paris.
So today we are looking at the continued adventures of Mantis in the Avengers. We're looking at Avengers 130 to 132 and Giant Size Avengers number 3.
And yeah.
Sorry, I just got really bored.
So, yes, when we last left Mantis, her lover swordsman had died.
And she realized she actually loved him, despite hitting
Yes.
on the vision 2 minutes earlier.
Correct. So I do have a little summary of Avengers 130. And then we can discuss points and places that come to mind. So, Mantis requests the Avengers escort Swordsman's body to Vietnam, the only place he was ever happy. After a nice eulogy from the god Thor, they lay him to rest in the garden of the abandoned temple to Hala. Their peace is disturbed by a scream from a man fleeing a trio of communist superheroes, the Titanium Man, the Crimson Dynamo, and the Radioactive Man. The Avengers wish to interfere, but the Titanic Three point out that America has withdrawn from Vietnam and they are merely bringing justice to a murderer. Iron Man, whose experience with the war is a little more personal, refuses to back down. Thor must fight him, and the group retreats. They travel to Saigon to continue investigating Mantis' past. Everything she thinks she remembers turns out to be untrue. Meanwhile, the Slasher, a blade-covered thief who has been taking advantage of the post-war lawlessness, spots the Avengers and reports their presence to the Titanic Three. This time they really do fight, until Slash's stolen diamonds spill out in combat. The Titanic Three tell them to leave and take the criminal with them. And that is the issue.
Mm-hmm. And the Slasher is one of those incredibly forgettable, how the hell did this guy ever become a supervillains?
Well, he coated his outfit with blades, and then it is kind of scary looking. It really seems like he's going to hurt himself.
Maybe it's just me, but I don't think blades quite work that way.
Yeah, he's a pretty dumb villain.
Yeah. Otherwise, yeah, this one seems pretty heavy in the America is still very upset about what happened in Vietnam.
Yeah, well, to be fair, technically the war is not quite officially over yet. Um, so this is really fresh off the press politically. This takes place, or it's published in 1974, and it's during the ceasefire, but the war, at least according to Wikipedia, is not officially over till 1975. So it's still kind of in flux, but the
But being
American withdrawal has already begun.
being towards the end of it, you're probably still at the height of public displeasure with the war and all that kind of stuff. Um, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of political undertones to this as well. At least in the avenging versus the Titanic Three, which is what the three supervillains call themselves. Um, yeah,
So Kennedy's been dead for about 10 years at this point?
10 or 11, yeah.
Okay. That's all I got. No, let's see. Things that stuck out to me. When Iron Man is losing his shit all over, which one was he losing his shit over? Titanium Man? Is that the guy he was freaking out about? Or
No,
Crimson
Crimson
Dude?
Dynamo.
That was it.
Because
Crimson Dynamo.
because he killed his girlfriend.
Which, okay, so for me reading that and knowing the modern day Tony Stark, when he says you killed a woman I loved, did anybody else pause for a second?
Which one? I actually had no clue which one it was. Yeah.
I have no idea. But he didn't say the woman. He said a woman.
Well, clearly he's loved since. I mean, that was.
It's true.
And it is Tony Stark, so
Yeah. It was just really interesting to have this moment of like, oh no, yeah, this is Tony. He's always been this way.
Well, and the thing to remember is Iron Man's origins are in the Vietnam War. So, uh, you know, oddly, we kind of forget exactly how long that lasted.
Yeah.
Because his entire history in comics up to this point, the war has still been active.
So he says, and again, I have no idea about the history right now, but he says the Viet Cong and the reason he's stuck in the suit.
Mhm.
Does Iron Man not leave his suit at all in his golden age?
He has to wear the chest plate because it has well, I don't think they call it the arc reactor at this time, but it has the transistor set up to keep the shrapnel that is piercing his heart from going all the way through and killing him.
The electromagnet or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But in this particular case, since I think at some point he actually gets his heart repaired or some other wackiness happens, but he actually has to wear the full chest plate at all times.
Interesting.
No one notices under his suits.
No,
Yeah.
which is pretty impressive, but that's... Although he does have, in this version, as we learned from Iron Man 55, and probably subsequent Iron Mans where he takes all of his time to constantly put his new costume on, it's effectively like a metallic fabric thing that he then polarizes and it becomes solid. So he can wear it underneath clothing and it's not really that apparent because it's kind of flexible or something.
I'm going to say something really insensitive that can't be on the podcast. So he's Mormon.
Well, it's a magic chest plate as opposed to magic underwear, but and it does actually serve a legitimate purpose. So
Yeah, I mean, I think
my insensitive comment about it.
the original idea was that he basically built an iron lung type thing, but was able to make it so that it's portable instead of being,
An
But
iron.
yeah, but it's an iron heart.
Yeah. And it was hilarious, to jump ahead just a little bit. In the back end of the Giant Silenced Avengers, they had an old Avengers that they kicked forward. They actually have him plugging his chest into the wall to charge it. Complete with a little two-prong plug type thing like it's on an extension cord.
There's no grounding? Come on, Tony.
No, well, it's the 70s. They didn't have grounding plugs then. So.
I did not know that.
Well, 60s or 70s. I can't remember which. But
Today I learned.
jumping back to the past future.
Yeah.
Future past. We are kind of dealing with Kang, so.
The-
Yeah. So we've got Mantis once again wandering all through Saigon and saying, I remember this place, and having everybody tell her that, oh, we have no clue who you are. Because that's how we build tension in comic books, is by setting things up and then saying, no, that's not how it happened.
It was, I think for me, it was a step back for Mantis. In the last couple of issues, she's really gotten a lot more complex, and there's been some interest in her story. And then we're going back to her mysterious origins, and I was bored.
Fair enough. Well, and she's very passive in this particular one. I mean,
Right,
sure, she kicks some butt, but a lot of it isn't, I want to confront my future. I want to understand what's going on. It's more, how do I know what's going on? What's
right.
true and what's fake? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, like I said, this one really felt like the story was about Iron Man and his conflicts and the Vietnam War, and we just kind of have her as reminder because that's set up for future things. But just kind of
Yeah, it was totally mostly a setup for just having. Uh, it seemed like it was kind of a, let's have America versus the communists again. And the problem is because of the politics, they wound up playing it out to a stalemate again, which leaves it very unsatisfying.
Although Hawkeye's comment about how he hears too much back at the States, he doesn't want to hear about it here when it comes to politics, was at least I felt kind of like they were acknowledging the fact that it's been talked about too much and that they're doing it too and that they're assholes for that.
Mm. But yeah, it just came off very weird. It came off like they were trying to do an early, um, Avengers versus X-Men type thing, where it's, hey, let's pit this one supergroup who has some level of legitimacy against this other supergroup that has some level of legitimacy, just because of some general misunderstanding or some wackiness that's going on along the edges.
Right. Yeah. Trying to think of if there was anything else that stood out to me. Oh, I had no idea Radioactive Man was an actual thing. I thought The Simpsons made it up. So there you go.
Well, they're different radioactive men, but yes.
This one doesn't have a Fallout Boy?
No, this one does not have a Fallout Boy. This one, I think, was because he references the fact that he was from China or worked for his Chinese overlords or something. I think he was a one of those. It was a Hulk type villain, where it
Ooh.
was yet another like atomic blast or something like that turned him into blah, and um, he became a
it
villain.
looks like his first appearance was during Mystery number 93,
Wow, that's an old one.
1963. Yeah, well, and he was also in Avengers number 6 against the Masters of Evil. Uh, so yeah,
Hmm.
Wow.
so it looks like he was a Thor villain.
Which is strange because you usually had the the radioactive people going up against Hulk, because you had the leader and um, the Abomination, and nearly all of them were gamma irradiated.
But yeah, he's not a lot of appearances until relatively recently when he was in Thunderbolts, it looks like.
He shows up in Thunderbolts?
Yeah, the 2000 run, or 2005.
I don't
Sorry,
remember that at all. Huh.
yeah, well, that's the thing I love about Thunderbolts is it takes like D-list villains and then kind of makes them sympathetic.
It takes D-list heroes and makes them kind of sympathetic.
Sometimes that too.
As much as I
Um,
love Frank Castle.
let's see. So yeah, we should go ahead and do the credits for this issue. Most of these are going to be written by, or I think all of these are written by Steve Englehart. But this issue had layouts by Sal Buscema, finished art by Joe Stanton, Lettering Joe Rosen, coloring Bill Mantlo, and editor Roy Thomas. We want to move on
Same.
to the next issue then?
Yeah, there's really not a lot to say about this one. I mean, there's a lot of setup, clearly, and there's a lot of callback. Vision going, oh god, I'm going crazy because of stuff that's happened, and Wanda being like, oh no, I can't be an Avenger quite anymore because I'm studying witchcraft now.
Yeah, Wanda certainly, not that she necessarily forgave Mantis, but from the last issue to this one, she certainly cooled down quite a bit, which was interesting.
And the fact that she was jealous of Mantis trying to steal the Vision.
Well, they were at each other's throats. The last issue, they were screaming at each other, being super catty. Like there was about to be a Jello pit appear in the middle of the floor, and the two of them just like attack each other. And then in this one, she's playing it cool and calm, but I really, for some reason, for me, I really wanted her to still be upset. I wanted there to be some continuity in her anger.
Hmm. Yeah, and she's just all keeping it inside and quietly hoping that the Vision doesn't do what she doesn't want him to do.
Right.
Hmm.
Meh.
But I just wonder why she's still in the Avenger Mansion and doing stuff when
Well,
she
she's
doesn't get involved in anything. And as far as I'm aware, she doesn't have her own um, series.
yeah, they just wrote her out for a few issues. I mean, she'll be back by the end of this story arc.
Huh.
It's just she's training.
So, let's move on to 131 so I can go conquest, conquest, conquest.
All
And
right.
striped thigh-high boots.
Oh my god.
So, yes, this is Avengers 131, A Quiet Half Hour in Saigon. Author, once again, Steve Englehart. Artists, Sal Buscema and Joe Staton. Uh, Lettering, Tom Orzechowski. Coloring, Phil Rachelson. And editor, Roy Thomas.
You want to give us the synopsis?
So, yes, my synopsis as they continue to be puzzled by Mantis's false memories and history, she apologizes to Vision for her early advances. While she wanders the streets of Saigon, she sees a ghostly apparition of the swordsman. Nomad, once known as Captain America, stops in to visit and tells the team he will return after he finishes his current case. Hawkeye wonders if the Avengers still need a simple archer such as himself. Meanwhile, Immortus has pulled Kang and Ramatut out of the time stream, where they were endlessly fighting. The unconscious Ramatut is imprisoned, and Kang and Immortus plan to attack the Avengers. Kang gathers a legion of undead villains, including Frankenstein's monster, Wonder Man, the Human Torch, and Baron Zemo. Kang turns on Immortus, imprisoning him, and he teleports the Avengers into a dungeon separating them. That's it.
Where do we want to start? Can we just
Well,
read the synopsis and move on? Sorry.
but we get introductions to so many wacky D-list villains that he decides to throw at everyone.
Which was great, actually. I'm trying to figure out where to start. Okay, so one, I had no idea that Frankenstein was a Marvel villain. Bravo.
So is
Apparently,
Dracula.
I did not know. Apparently, Abbott and Costello did not do their job, and they did not defeat him in the feature film. Um, Also, isn't the Human Torch Johnny Storm's name?
Sorry. So this is the original Human Torch, which was an android back in the Golden Age, and so definitely two of these, Wonder Man and the original Human Torch, are specifically brought here because they're both connected to Vision.
Okay.
Uh, Vision is in the Human Torch's body, so this is definitely play with the time stream because it's pulling the Human Torch from the past, whatever. And then also the Vision's brain implant or brain pattern was based off Simon Williams, who was Wonder Man. So we have both things that became the Vision, which is, of course, important to how they win in the end of this story.
Yeah, the Vision's past is a little wacky.
Yeah.
Just a little. But yeah, the original Human Torch was built by some guy who just wanted to make a quick buck, but and this is where it gets really weird. Apparently, when he's exposed to oxygen, he bursts into flame, which I would find to be a rather significant design flaw, unless you're intending on making a Human Torch or something along those lines.
How did he build it without exposing it to oxygen?
Look, guys, this is a Golden Age comic. Not a lot of,
Well, he had the vacuum tube that he kept the Human Torch in to keep him from igniting,
Oh.
so maybe
How do
he
you-
built him in there or something.
Sure.
Or maybe
So-
he didn't actually ignite until he activated him or something. But yeah, so effectively, the old Human Torch goes through a whole big frou-frou, gets captured by villains, and eventually gets captured by Ultron, and then reprogrammed and sent after the Avengers, who then capture him and reprogram him with Wonder Man's brain imprints, despite Wonder Man apparently having been built as a villain to use against the Avengers.
Yeah, it's much, much later that he actually comes back to life
As a
hero.
hero, yeah. Yeah, so it's all very weird.
This is super cool. I had no idea.
Oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of wackiness with the Vision, and then later on, I assume we're not actually dealing with the Vision at all because he has no connection with the Guardians of the Galaxy. But later on, he goes crazy enough that he takes over the entire computer system of the world and is trying to control it and all of the nuclear bombs and everything so that human beings can't keep killing each other. And so then they need to purge the Vision from the 1970s, 1980s version of the internet. And in the process, they completely erase all of his memories and his baseline cognizance, and so they replace it with the brain patterns of another completely different person, which becomes a whole big thread later on in the 90s. And that's when he shifts from red and green to solid white.
Wow.
Yeah.
I forgot.
I like the
Solid
Vision.
White era.
So
That's great. It sounds I mean I had no idea that it was so obviously it's comics, so it's going to be convoluted, but it sounds really interesting. I need to actually read Vision stuff.
I highly recommend the Vision and the Scarlet Witch miniseries. It was about 6 or 8 issues, I think.
Yeah.
I really liked it because it gave both of them a lot of characterization. There's some wackiness involved, and then there's the whole they're going to have kids. But it was a really good read. It was one of my favorite miniseries that I read when I was younger.
Good to know. I will check it out.
But back to Kang finding his future self and doing
Blah.
wacky stuff.
So hi Steve Rogers. What you doing, bro?
So yes, we're in the middle of the Nomad era of Captain America.
Which I always thought was hilarious that he's Nomad, but he still has his title of Captain America and Falcon.
And the outfit. What the hell?
It's so pretty. He's a stripper.
I was gonna say it's like Steve. Did you suddenly decide, hey, I'm no longer a, World War II vet. I'm a male stripper now.
I love it.
Plunging V-line and for some reason he's got the 2 buttons at the lapel that usually would hold things like a cape, but he's not wearing a cape.
No capes.
Oh.
Hawkeye has his little soliloquy, and for me, that might have been the best part of this issue. It was really poignant for him to be questioning his place in the Avengers and how things change so quickly. Which I mean, yeah, right on the nose, Clint. It like the Avengers change from issue to issue, and it's ridiculous, and I can't even keep track of it. And I'm like looking at it from an omnipotent point of view. Ed, Jeff wants to say something.
Well, no, I was yawning there.
Oh.
But I was going to say that I think this is part of the reason why they killed off the swordsman, so that Hawkeye could be the guy who's constantly questioning whether or not he actually fits into the Avengers.
And for some reason, it seemed maybe it's because I love Hawkeye, but it seemed far less irritating for him to be doing it than for Swordsman to be doing it.
Well, because Hawkeye didn't have quite as checkered of a past as the swordsman, but he still has that situation where he's not a super serum soldier. He's not nigh on invulnerable. He's not an Asgardian god. He's just a guy with a bunch of trick bows who's a really good shot.
Right. He's
So he's
at
got that same grounding that Swordsman had, but he doesn't have all of the weird wackiness in the past to sort of muddle everything up. And he doesn't think he's a loser. He just doesn't think he fits into the Avengers quite.
right. He feels like he's a little too everyman for the Avengers, but he's still aware of his greatness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas the Swordsman was constantly self-sabotaging and just really kind of whiny and yeah.
I guess for me, it felt like the Swordsman. I don't know. It's because I said the word soliloquy earlier. I've gone to Shakespeare. I'm so sorry. Swordsman was Hamlet. He's just like constantly destined to be morose and emo and eventually kill every person he loves. And I don't get that feeling from Hawkeye.
Yeah, I can certainly see that. And sort of the built-in tragedy that he just can't get past.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Eh.
So yeah, I mean, I thought it was kind of a cool issue because it had a lot of character story moments where they're just hanging out talking to each other, which is not exactly exciting, but really lets the character interactions come through. And then in the background, you've got Kang building his army of undead legions for the next issue. But because there is like literally no fights for the superheroes in this issue.
Yeah.
Mantis has a quick fight, right?
Yeah, the intro, she beats up a mugger at the very beginning
Right.
just to have a splash page where she punches someone. It's like, I'm tired of being, not knowing anything. It's really fun to just kick someone's butt.
Pretty much.
But again, I have to go back to why the hell did you pick this selection of people? I mean, it probably made more sense at the time because they were probably more prevalent in people's minds. But, these are all. I mean, Zemo's probably the most well-known or well-established villain of all of these people.
Well, and I wonder how established he was at that point.
Well, he was a
He's,
constant foil for Captain America.
but he was dead.
Yeah.
Like, let me see.
Well, and furthermore, there's also the fact that aside from the ghost, I suppose, all of these people were pulled from the time stream while they were alive. So, how precisely are they dead?
Right?
Yeah.
And Mantis going insane and seeing visions of her dead ex-boyfriend, like, this is the 70s, right? We're not into that kind of weird psychoanalytical stuff yet. What the fuck is going on? Sorry, what the frack is going on? I'm tired. I'm sorry if I do things that you don't like, Jesse.
That's fine.
He'll just edit it out in post.
Hey!
Yeah, that's what post is for.
Yeah, I don't know. The ghostly apparition of Swordsman. Maybe I'm thinking of Hamlet because there's a lot in this issue that reminded me of Hamlet.
I suppose it kind of does. The, appearance of the ghost, the tragic death that seems pointless or unexplained.
There's something rotten in Saigon.
Eh. And the seeking out of self-identity.
Yeah. It was weird, but
Hmm.
eh.
Strange
Human
to think
Torch.
of.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say strange to think of comic books pulling from Shakespeare, but it's still literature to some degree.
I feel like it probably happens a lot more than we catch.
Well,
Uh,
like with that previous issue where they had that not heavy-handed, but certainly overt political statements going on.
right.
So again, you've kind of got this sort of thing going on.
So,
In this issue, we have Human Torch and Frankenstein are dead, right? That's the number
Well,
32.
but as we learned later, they're not really dead because they can't really be dead.
I was referencing the Hamlet spinoff, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
Oh, I see.
yep.
Yep.
So, two of the characters I don't think I mentioned were Midnight and the Ghost, who I have no idea who they are.
Well, as we see from the Ghosts reference, I mean, how can anyone forget Silver Surfer 8 and 9? How
Ah,
can you,
yes.
Jesse? They were pivotal. They were so important to the character that, a cosmic herald of Galactus was fighting some schmo who was steering the Flying Dutchman and was dead.
Does Stan Lee remember Silver Surfer 8 and 9?
Probably.
Uh,
I'm
Not.
sure he remembers all of them. But, yeah, and again, we've got Kang has all the power, so he's going to summon the Avengers and throw his band of whack job villains at them because clearly this will be the time when he succeeds, unlike all those other times before where he's constantly come back from the future to stop himself.
yeah, he
Mhm.
has.
He's got problems.
It reminds me a bit of Thanos, and maybe it's just because I'm expanding my comic book horizon a little bit, and so I'm seeing similarities in villains. But I feel as if the supervillains are always self-defeating.
Not
It's a little.
always, but certainly the big ones. Certainly the ones like Kang and Doctor Doom and Thanos and those sorts of things. The ones that have the big, long, convoluted plans usually
Yeah.
wind up being their own worst enemy. And in Kang's case, literally. Because it's his future selves are showing up every now and again being like, you shouldn't be doing that, Kang. I really regretted that. And then he's like, no, who are you to tell me what's going on? I know exactly where my life's going. I need to conquer everything. And his
Oh
future
my
selves are just
gosh.
like, Kang, serious. It's Kang is like every human being who gets asked the question, if you could go back to when you were in high school, what would you change? Is the embodiment of that question.
Yeah, he's Kang.
He's Kang.
That that little synopsis right there should be like the top of the podcast.
So,
So
should we move on to the next issue then?
let's get into the actual conflict.
So, yes, this is Avengers 132, titled simply Kang War 2. Plot and title Steve Englehart. Script and editing Roy Thomas. Art Sal Buscema and Joe Staton. Letterer Joe Costanza and colorist Petra Goldberg.
Vision is dead.
Did this
Sorry.
one?
I'm skipping way to the end.
Oh, okay.
You're skipping away to the
Sorry.
end. Okay.
Let him do the
I was
synopsis.
gonna say, well, I don't have much of a synopsis for this one. They get separated. They're in a maze, so that the villains can fight them one at a time, as opposed to like having them separated and then all the villains beat up on one and then move on to the next, like a smart villain would do. Um, and like Thor can't escape or can't smash his way through the walls, so he turns back to Donald Blake for no particularly good reason. Then meets Frankenstein and turns back into Thor and punches Frankenstein. It's this issue is just a lot of fighting.
Yeah.
We do also get Hooded Man, who's been referenced occasionally in the previous one.
Hmm.
Um, and he's apparently following people around trying to figure out what's going on, and we find out he's involved with the swordsman Spectre showing back up,
Yeah.
and so we're getting all set up for that sort of thing. But yeah, it's pretty much Kang implicitly separates the Avengers, and then runs around and sends specific ones after specific Avengers. And we've got Wonder Man and the Human Torch taking on Vision. We've got the Ghost going after him while the Wonder Man and the Human Torch wander back off with Kang. We've got Midnight, the guy all in black with a fedora, fighting Mantis because they're both martial arts people, and so that's how things work.
So I should mention, way back in the cover, they've got a picture of Thor fighting Frankenstein, Human Torch versus Iron Man, and then Midnight versus Mantis, and they have electrifying announcement: one of the Avengers depicted on this cover will perish in this very issue, but which one?
Dun, dun,
It's
dun.
the dude just standing next to the A.
Um, then,
Well,
of
I think
course, we've. Oh, go ahead.
well, I think they're referring to, so like when the Human Torch and Iron Man fight, he kills Iron Man, and
Mhm.
then we move on.
No, no, Vision dies. That's all Iron Man never dies. You shut up.
Okay. And of course, we've also got the interlude where Immortus, the man who controls Limbo and has all kinds of funky time machine stuff, argues with Rama Tut about the nature of existence and time.
Yep.
And yeah, then we actually have two of the Avengers fighting against Kang, Wonder Man, and the Human Torch, who seem to be Wonder Man and the Human Torch seem to be the major villains who are actually running around doing stuff. Frankenstein just sort of wanders around being the am I a monster or am I a man? The Ghost just seems to randomly appear every now and again, and Midnight just largely tries to kick Mantis's butt.
Yes, but apparently the Ghost's kind of also phasing power disrupts Vision circuits, and poor Vision is dying at the end of this issue.
Yes.
Um, which I guess we can skip straight to Giant Size number 3 since.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. It's pretty much, hey, we're going to supposedly kill Tony Stark, and then we're going to kill the Vision. Because
I
they,
will
they
say,
implicitly state that Tony Stark has no pulse and no heartbeat.
right? That never happened. Um, there's a lot of red in this issue. Just putting that out there.
Well, you've got the Vision, you've got the Ghost, you've got the Human Torch. So yeah, it's
Yeah, and Iron Man, and it was so hard on a couple of the panels. I think it was where Vision is fighting Wonder Man and the Human Torch. I kept getting visually lost. Like, I was able to read the dialogue and everything, but the actual art kept, for some reason, I couldn't handle it mentally. I was like, there's so much red and green. I don't know what's happening.
all right. So let's jump ahead to Giant Size 3 then.
So yes. So Giant Size 3 is What Time Hath Put Asunder, Kang War 2 Conclusion. Plot and title, Steve Englehart. Script and editing, Roy Thomas. Illustration, Dave Cockrum and Joe Giella. Lettering, L.G. Peter. Colorist, Petra Goldberg. So it's got a nice splash page of Vision dying in Mantis's arms.
It's so touching.
Uh, so I did not have time to write a synopsis for this one at all. It is complicated, but also simple at the same time. There's more fighting with people in this maze. Then eventually, slowly, some of the villains start acting on their own. Frankenstein saves Vision's body and brings it to Human Torch, and Human Torch is like, "Oh, I can fix him. Hey, this is like my body." Uh, and uh, Thor has some angsty moments over Iron Man. We have some flashbacks to what's going on in the real world that mostly sets up future things.
And then we have the huge twist reveal at the end.
What was the twist reveal at the end?
Um, well, I'll just do it. That Immortus is also Kang.
Oh, yes. I'd forgotten if that showed up in this one or in like the next one, since this does not end.
Yes, because it's not enough that we have Ramatut from the future trying to stop Kang. Now we have Immortus being Kang as well. So all of these people are the same people, and they're all screwing up with each other.
Yeah.
Immortus pulls Kang out, saves Kang from Ramatut, whom he should be aware is actually his future self. And since he's pulling Kang out of the time stream before he became Immortus, he should be aware of the fact that Kang was going to wind up double-crossing him anyways.
But everything happened exactly as planned, so I did like there's, all the big heroes are fighting. Hawkeye manages to sneak his way to the control room where Ramatut and Immortus are. But Baron Zemo, who's one of the villains who stays on the side of the villains, shoots him with some sort of glue gun, which probably, if we knew more about Baron Zemo, we'd remember from previous appearances. So he's stuck on the floor, and then Immortus is distracting Zemo and trying to convince Zemo to let him out and he'll fix his face. But while he's distracted, Hawkeye's got this, great Hawkeye moment of being like stuck with his arms, so he's got to shoot his bow with his feet and teeth at a little button to release Immortus. And of course, because he's Hawkeye, he succeeds. And Immortus is like, no. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, and Hawkeye lands the shot with the strange phrase of, "Yahoo, Minnesota Fats, here I come."
I'm sure that was very topical.
I guess so.
It's probably a sports ball team.
Sports ball?
Yep. But yeah, so Immortus then just like zaps Kang and turns him into protoplasm. And yeah.
Actually, I just looked it up. Minnesota Fats was a fictional pool hustler. So I'm guessing it's because it was a bank shot that he's referencing it. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, The Color of Money.
Yep. Although The Color of Money wasn't out until '86, so that would have been after this.
Right.
But they're referencing The Hustler in this one, I guess.
Yeah, The Color of Money is a sequel to The Hustler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's referencing a pool guy. So it kind of is sports ball, but not quite.
It's billiards, which is, But
it's
yeah,
a ball.
We actually
It's a sport.
just recently watched The Color of Money.
But
for kids.
Yeah, this issue is largely people continuing to beat each other up and people having extreme revelations about everything. Human Torch figuring out that his body is the Vision's body, and yeah, Baron Zemo. I don't know what it is that they had with villains, because apparently Zemo's suffering from the Doctor Doom syndrome of he put on this mask and for some reason he can no longer take it off. I don't know enough about Zemo to know why. But
it was some sort of accident that like melded it to his face or something. But
except it's clearly cloth. That's the thing. I mean, at least with Doom, it was metal.
But I mean, Doom is definitely like he puts this on to hide the flaw. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think Zemo has about a dozen appearances before this point, so he's not really. I mean, he's historical, but like I think he dies in his first appearance and then just keeps coming back for various reasons.
Well, I mean, that's how you do.
Right. But yeah, so
Um, oh, I actually found a snippet as to how this happened. Um, Apparently, it's because of his adhesive X, the thing that he used to bind Hawkeye to the ground.
oh yes,
Captain America smashes some of it nearby Baron Zemo, and it soaks into the mask, and so he can't take it off.
Hmm.
Which is interesting because theoretically that means they shouldn't be able to remove Hawkeye from the ground.
yep.
But
Hawkeye
as we all
dies.
know, yeah,
Oh, I guess we should mention. So, like I said, Human Torch and Wonder Man fix up the Vision so he doesn't die. And then once they free Immortus, Immortus is like, "Oh, I stopped time on Iron Man just after he got hit, and now he's back and fine."
yeah, but it's literally Deus Ex Machina in that Immortus is like, I control all of Limbo, and thereby I control all of time. So zap, there you go, all fixed. Yet he
Yep.
doesn't, or no, he does do it with the Vision too. I forgot. He does replace the Vision's arm. I was like, the Vision's beaten up to heck, so why don't you restore him too?
My arm, my hand, restored again, as if by magic. Not magic, simply laws of science which none who dwell on earthly plane can ever hope to understand, not even you.
Oh my.
Well, Immortus was Kang, so of course he has to have some level of ego regarding his abilities. And then Hawkeye, of all people, tells Immortus, "Hey, restore Baron Zemo and make him dead again, would you? Because him just lying around in a pile of protoplasm, that's just not fair." It's like,
Yeah,
but he's dead in the ground and he's gonna decompose, and it doesn't really matter. But yeah.
yeah.
And then, of course, Immortus with his magical time abilities, which he had heretofore stated were an aspect of his machine, but now he can apparently wield at free will, um, puts everybody
Which
back where they're supposed to be.
the machines are a clever ruse for Kang, and it's all part of a master plan. I don't know. It doesn't.
I'm sure it is.
Kang doesn't
It's a
make sense.
master plan that yet another version of Kang is going to try to foil.
Yeah. So, yeah, this one is definitely kind of mostly just continued setup for what's going to be finally the conclusion to Mantis' story next episode. Really, I promise.
And of course, we also get the initial quest where Vision finds out about how he wound up being the Vision.
Yeah, so I mean, there's definitely things more important to not Mantis that happen in these stories. Like Iron Man versus Vietnam and Vision learning about the Human Torch and Wonder Man more. But
Yeah.
But yes, it's not till the next story arc that we learn about that mysterious hooded figure and why the ghost of Swordsman is wandering about.
Just willy-nilly.
Yep.
And then the latter half of the giant-sized Avengers does the same thing that the last giant-sized Avengers did, which is, hey, let's just grab a random comic book from the past and slap it on the end here to fill it out.
Yeah.
It is tangentially related because apparently the villain in that was the setup for Immortus later on. So it's more of that cross-time stream kind of thing. So maybe Kang is the sole reason for giant-sized Avengers.
Pretty
Because
much.
they're pretty much just saying, hey, here's Kang, here's what he's doing right now, but oh, hey, this thing that happened 10 or 20 years ago totally had to do with Kang.
Yeah, Iron Man's suit is terrible back then.
Oh, with the antenna on the shoulder and everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was when he was using transistors.
Power of transistors.
Power of transistors, giving him the capacity to lift cars and fire repulsor rays. But that is also the one where you see Tony Stark wearing his gold chest plate and plugging it into the wall to charge it.
Yep.
Because, gosh, it would be terrible if he forgot to charge it and died, which he implicitly states in that particular issue. It's like, it's always a good thing when I remember to charge my chest plate, because otherwise I'd die. It's like,
But
yeah.
did we lose Kit? I said, apparently we lost Kit.
Oh, she dropped? Oh, yeah, she did.
Well, we're pretty much done. So, but yeah, it's silly.
Yeah. Well, so, yeah, Mantis shows up in 3 more issues, and as opposed to actually revealing anything serious or worthwhile, we get more, you'll find out.
Yeah. Now, Englehart really knows how to stretch a story out.
Certainly give him credit for that.
I just happened to flip to the page where Wasp sends a note or writes a note for, Dr. Blake. Trouble at Stark Factory. Need Thor. And Blake's like, wait outside of the reception room while I send for Thor. Thor, will do, Doc. He'd be real dreamy if he was a little huskier.
Yeah. So I just got a notification from Kit that she got booted. So I don't know if that was from the Hangout or her computer.
The Hangout.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead and invite her back.
But yeah, I do have to say that these particular issues were less than thrilling. I mean, in the previous ones, we actually had some interesting stuff going on. In this, it was pretty much just, let's throw some random villains at the Avengers, have them beat them up, and then set up for later stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and stop this, and I can add a thanks for listening at the end, blah, 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 when I do editing.
That's what editing is for, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I need to catch up and actually release some episodes, but we'll get there.
Yeah. Well, I've done some podcast editing, and it's never as simple as you think it is.
Do you happen to have time to perhaps help me catch up?
Damn it! Shouldn't have said anything. It's probably going to be later today, if anything, because I have to get James to work.
Well, I was going to say I could give you one of the later episodes, and you could work on it in your leisure, and then get it back to me, and then it'll make.
So, are you just using Audacity?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Although,
so I wanted to make sure I was familiar. Although,
for transferring files, because Audacity, of course, doesn't give you one file. It helps to save it as a compressed project and then zip all of the files together and then upload the zip, because we had issues with getting corrupted files, because if you don't get everything, it's a bitch.
Yeah, because it's got all those separate stuff that it does. So okay.
So probably won't be later today, or till much later, that I can upload things anyway. But,
okay.
But yeah, I'll start keeping in Dropbox all of the raws, and I'll let you know which one you should maybe take a look at, and then
sure, I can give you a hand.
That would be awesome, because
it can be monumental, particularly when you've got an hour or more of stuff to edit through. So you're shooting for about 30 minutes?
No. we're shooting for whatever makes sense. I mean, we've
Okay.
been between a half hour and an hour have been our
So it's cut out the
playing
dead
system.
space and wacky noises and background stuff, and then
Yeah,
try to make it as seamless as possible.
pretty much.
Okay.
Just see what we get.
Alrighty. Well, I need to get dressed and get going. But
So do I.
yeah, I will see you for the next episode then.
Silly question. Are you in
Oh.
Morgan's Earthdawn game?
I'm sorry, what?
Are you in Morgan's Earthdawn game?
No.
Okay.
I'm running a 4th Ed D&D game with him in it, but I'm not in his
Okay.
Earthbound game.
Because I'm actually driving down to his Earthdawn game today.
Oh, right now?
Well, after I take a shower.
Well, oh yeah.
But yes, next.
Well, that would explain why he's not emailing me more about his 4th edition character today.
No, he's pretty busy. I've played this. This is like the second time I'm going to be playing since I moved, so it's been a slow hiatus game.
Oh, I'm sure. All right. Well, I'll catch you later then.
Later.
Bye.